Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me this week, I have my two good friends. I have Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hey, it's good to be back, rested up and ready to go.
Yeah, and welcome back, Trev.
Yeah, I am happy to be here. It's been especially long for me, so too long, really.
Yeah, it feels like ages since we've had you on. We did have the last couple of weeks off because I've been abroad, so we've had a bit of not a hiatus, just a break, just a couple of weeks, a bit of a vacation, I suppose you could say. It was a vacation for me, actually. I'm sure you guys still did all your things and where you are.
Not a vacation for us.
No. But yes, I've just been back from Japan, so we'll talk about my time over there and my time, especially at Super Nintendo World, which was amazing. We've also got quite a few news items to go through from the last couple of weeks. Plus, we will talk about the games we're playing, of course. So, yeah, I was so excited to go to Japan. We'll start with that. And I really wanted to compare, I suppose, Kirk, your experience at Super Nintendo World in LA to mine in Japan, in Osaka. So I have to say, I can't, you know, I knew in theory what to expect because you've been there and you've obviously written up a nice piece about it and photos, and we've talked about it. I've read online, I've seen pictures, etc. But going there, it just blew my mind. It was just amazing. Like, and I have to say, if you're thinking of going to Japan, which we were just talking before the show, Japan is very heavy, a very popular destination for tourists right now. So it's possible that a lot of people are thinking of going to Japan. If you do go, and if you do go to Super Nintendo World, you have to get the wristband, right, Kirk? You can't
Oh
do it
yeah,
with it. Yeah.
almost everything you do there is wristband required.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Excuse me. And it just makes I say well, the way I sort of explain it is it's kind of like the whole park is interactive. It's like being in a game almost, in a Mario game, really, because you're using the band to, get collect coin. Well, essentially the goal is to collect the most coins, but you hit boxes to collect coins. You do little challenges to collect coins. Like there's one where you have to hit music boxes, or you have to, defeat enemies. Like there's a Koopa shell that goes back and forth, and you have to time your press of this button so that the Koopa shell goes up the pipe and hits the power block. It's like literally being in a Mario game. It's so, so much fun. When I first walked into this world, I had the biggest, goofiest smile on my face for the longest time.
Yeah, well, that's one of the best parts, right? I mean, when you first go in, you've seen the pictures of it, but when you
Mhm.
go in and you're so small compared to all the
Yes.
walls and everything just going up all around you, it really is a very fun moment when you come out that opening into the world.
Yeah, it is. I'm getting goosebumps even just thinking about it because you do go through that big pipe, like there's a big green
Mhm.
pipe you walk through, just like Mario, and it has these kind of cool lights on the sides. It looks like you're warping, and you come out, and then you come through Peach's castle, which is just brilliant. The paintings on the walls that look like they're from Mario 64. Um, yeah, there's a section, at least in the Japan one, there's a section on the side, excuse me, where Peach comes out and stands for part of the day, and you can have your photo taken with her. There was a huge line for that actually. um, excuse me, and I've got a bit of a Japanese, maybe related travel bug, but hopefully my voice holds out.
Oh.
Yeah, it
Hey,
was,
Jim, I have a quick question.
yeah,
You can rest your
sure.
voice for a second. You
Okay.
mentioned the paintings in Peach's Castle. Did they have to put up like a velvet rope to block them so people didn't try to jump in?
No, they didn't. That would have been cool, though. They did have kind of a shimmering, like a what do you call it? When you're looking from one angle, it's one picture, and then you go to a different angle, it's a different picture? It changes between 2
Oh
pictures?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember that term.
Yeah, but it
like
does
the
that.
old baseball cards I used to get as a kid.
Yeah, like those not holographic, is it? Something like that, though,
Yeah,
right?
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it does
Like
that. It has, like
renticular.
maybe. That's a cool term.
I'm gonna look it up while you keep
Okay.
talking.
So, the one thing, and I don't know about LA, I think it's the same in LA, but in Osaka, you buy a ticket to Universal Studios, and then you have to book a time to go to Super Nintendo World, and that was the only frustrating part I found because you can't book a time until you use your ticket to go into Universal Studios, if that makes sense. So you have to go in, like at 9 a.m. or whatever, you go in, then you've got the app on your phone, and you have to, like, find a time. "Okay, I wanna go to Super Nintendo World." So I couldn't get in till 3 p.m. So there was a lot of kind of just I mean, you don't have to wait around. There's a whole Universal Park to explore and do on the side with, like, Minions rides and all sorts. There's Jurassic Park stuff, there's Jaws, etcetera. So there's heaps to do there as well. But I just wanted to get to Nintendo. So
Mhm.
moving closer and closer as it got to closer to 3 o'clock, and it's like, "Okay, it's 2:30," and we actually decided to try to get in a little bit early, and they just let us in. They didn't say anything. I wasn't sure how efficient or, specific with the times they'd be, but I'm like, "Oh, we're a little early," and they're like, "Ah, go in." I'm like, "Cool, okay." So that was good. And then, they close at 7, so you only get so much time there, and it was really, really, really busy. Like, there are lots of people here, and once you get your 3 o'clock time or whatever time you get, you don't have to leave by a certain time. So you can stay there all day, once you get in. So, yeah, it's just a lot of people, but most of the crowds move pretty quickly, in terms of you have to line up for things like the Bowser Jr. fight once you collect. So there's coins to collect, but there's also these little things, like I said, you have to hit the Koopa shell, whatever. You get a key. Collecting 3 keys then lets you fight Bowser Jr., and that was awesome. Did you do that, Kirk? Did they have that in LA?
And if they did, I have no memory of it at all. So I'm going to say they don't, but I
Okay.
could be wrong.
Could be wrong, but we could find out, but that's okay. So what you do is, this is even more like an interactive game. You go through this little maze kind of thing, and then you go into this room, and Bowser Jr. kind of taunts you on a screen. Then you walk into this room, and it's like there's about 10 people at a time that go through. So it's only like a 5 or 10-minute waiting. It's pretty good. It's not like the other rides that take like 2 hours. The Mario Kart ride, I'll get to that. But the Bowser Jr. one, you're standing all in a line, kind of with a couple of meters between you, and you're facing this giant wall, like a giant screen in front of you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, then yeah. It's funny. I don't remember Bowser Jr., but I remember the screen, and there were like shadows, and you had to jump and
Yes.
knock things away.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you see your shadow on the screen and you can jump, in real life, and your shadow jumps in front of you, pretty high actually. And you hit power-ups that come your way and you get, you can get firepower, for example. I got a star power, which is really cool, and you can throw fireballs at the enemies. There's like Koopas and piranha plants, and obviously Bowser Jr.'s there as well, so you have to defeat him and collect coins is the goal, and I think I got like 20, which was pretty good apparently, but someone did beat me. I think they got 21, but I was the second best in my group, so I was happy with it.
Hey,
Yeah. Uh, there's a lot to do. It's like, honestly, you could spend they say you only need like 4 or 5 hours there, maybe because it's so busy, but I could have spent days there, honestly. It's just there's a lot to do. So the 2 rides that they have, and I know they have Mario Kart, the ride in LA, but do they also have the Yoshi ride?
no, they
There's a
did not.
Yoshi. Oh, okay.
I,
So
I
there's a
think they're going to add that when they build in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
I
Mhm.
think I read, but that's not in LA at the moment.
Oh, okay. Sadly, I didn't get to ride that because there was a line. It was only about 70 minutes, but I decided to go with the Mario Kart line because I felt like I needed to do the Mario Kart challenge. So that one had about, I think it was around 100 minutes when I went to it. I kept checking all
Wow.
day. As you do, you check the times, like, oh, it'll go down at some point, right? But it was like
Y
120 minutes,
You
110
couldn't
minutes.
flash your Pure Nintendo badge and move to the front?
I wish I'd thought of that. No, I didn't
Don't they
bring
know
my
who you
Nintendo
are?
bed. I know,
That
right?
worked for me.
Yeah. Oh, dang.
Of course, it was a media event, and there were no crowds, but
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been awesome. It was worth the wait, and the Mario Kart one is pretty cool. They have lots of stuff to look at while you're waiting. There's all these trophies in the wall, there's big Bowser statues, there's heaps of Mario Kart memorabilia, like, it's pretty cool. And then, in fact, as you get closer, you go through Bowser's you're in Bowser's castle, right? But you go through Bowser's, like, library, and, there's, like, all this stuff. He's got this little notepad where he's writing a list, like a to-do list, and there's, like, this huge model train track of Mushroom Kingdom or something. Like, it's pretty awesome. They've gone all out, like, it's pretty cool. You can't even interact with it, it's just there on the side, and you can see it. There's, like, a little Bob-omb factory that you walk through, a little Mecha Koopa factory, like, you can see how they
mhm.
make the Bob-ombs. Yeah, so there's lots to look at on the way through, which helps. And then, of course, the Mario Kart ride, which is, like, what would you call it? Is it IR? Like, it's not virtual reality, it's like that IR stuff, isn't
Augmented
it? Augmented
reality.
AR, sorry,
Augmented.
yeah, 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 not IR, what's IR? Um So you've got, like, enemies in front of you on your little visor, and the thing I remember you saying this too, Kirk, you have to point your head at the enemies and then hit the fire button on your control. It's not like you can direct the control, you have to look at them. That was
Yeah, and
the
not
tricky
just with
part.
your eyes. You have to turn your whole head
Mhm,
in
mhm.
order to pull things into view or to aim.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so fun though. Trev, you have to try this. It is just so, so fun. You're in a team of 4, like you have 4 people in your little car, and if you all turn at the same time, because it gives you like little arrows to turn to tell you when to turn. If you all turn at the same time, you get little bonuses, and the goal is to get 100 coins, I think, to beat Bowser, because you're like Team Mario, and then there's Team Bowser you have to beat. And of course, there's things like there's stickers to collect across the whole park, as in virtual stickers in your little wristband app. So, the Mario Kart ride, for example, if you hit all the Koopalings, you get a sticker for that. There's just all these little bonus things. It's just like a Mario game. You know how in Mario you have to find all these little nooks and crannies and discover all the hidden gems? It's exactly like that. There's just stuff everywhere. There's like giant binoculars you have to look through to find Rosalina. There's like little Pikmins hiding around, even though that's not really Mario, but you get the idea.
Mhm.
So,
And they're like they're little some kind of indicator on a wall where you'll be walking somewhere and you just see something on a wall and you hold your wristband up
yes,
to it and then the wall kind of lights up with a hidden
yes, that's
thing and then
it.
you get points for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Oh, it's so cool. And I was hoping to give Donkey Kong Country World or whatever it's called a try, but it wasn't opened yet. So I think it was meant to open this month, but they've delayed it. So I didn't get to try that,
Mm.
unfortunately. But I did make use of the rest of the park. Apart from the Yoshi ride, I think I did pretty much everything. We did go back twice. We had 2 days at Universal, so I did manage to go back twice and finish off some of the things, including Mario Kart. So yeah, it was just amazing. It was just so, 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 so fun. And just based on the number of people there, it seems like it's a really popular attraction or park to me. Um, I don't know how it fares in America. I assume it's pretty popular there as well, but yeah, it was just always crowded. And this was like a random weekday. It wasn't even like summer holidays. It was just like a Tuesday. So it was like, yeah, can only imagine what it's like on a Saturday or something like that. But yeah, it's really worth going. If you're going to Japan, to Osaka, please check it out. It's so, so worth it. The other cool thing I did in Japan was and I didn't know this or I forgot this, but
Oh,
I was in
wait!
yeah,
Before we
yeah,
leave Super
yeah.
Nintendo World,
Mhm.
did you eat and did you try the mushroom soup?
I didn't get to do that. There was a huge line also for the Toad Cafe, whatever it's called. Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I saw it though. I saw the sign. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I really wanna try this." There was some other little cafe too, some Yoshi thing. Like they had Yoshi cookies or some other little foods around that I saw. So there's quite a few little eateries in the Osaka one at least, which is cool. But I really wanted to go to the Toad Cafe. It looked really small inside, like it didn't have a lot of tables. So
If it's like the one that we had, they had a lot of seats crammed in. I mean, comfortably.
Mhm.
You weren't in there, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty tight. I again, since I was at a media event, they were just able to get us in and out quickly. But I read afterwards about how hard it is to get in there, so I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. If I had more
It's
time, if
too
I was
bad
there
they
for
don't
like
do
a week.
like a cup of soup or something you can take with you.
Yeah,
Toad's cup of soup.
really. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in Japan, I don't know about theme parks, it's probably a bit different, but they don't tend to eat on the street. They tend to not do that. It's a very clean country
They're
as
more
well.
polite than we are.
No trash. Yeah. It's so funny because there's no trash, right? It's very clean, and of course, I would have something, some rubbish in my hands, and I'd be like, "Where do I put it? There's no bins anywhere." And so I'm thinking, "Why is this country so clean? There are no bins." But everyone's just so polite. They just take their trash home with them, and they deal with it somehow. So,
Mm.
yeah. So it's really, really clean. But yeah, the other cool thing was we were just wandering around Kyoto one day, a different city, obviously, to Osaka, not too far from Osaka, and I saw people walking around with Nintendo bags, and I'm like, "Is there a Nintendo store in Kyoto?" And I looked it up, and there was. It just opened this year. I didn't even realize. So, of course, we went there. So, I had already planned to go to the one in Tokyo, which last time I was in Japan 5 years ago, I had the same experience where I saw people carrying a Nintendo bag, like a shopping bag, and I'm like, "Is there a Nintendo store in Tokyo?" And it was opening that day that I was in Tokyo 5 years ago. So,
Nicely
grand op
done.
yeah, no, right. This time it wasn't the grand opening, it opened, I think, in January this year, so it's been open a few months. But still, I'm like, "Oh, I definitely need to go there," and it was really, really cool. They're both cool, Tokyo and Kyoto stores, very similar. Kyoto seemed a bit bigger to me. They're both very busy though, so again, the popularity seems to be quite, up there. I think Nintendo is not going anywhere in terms of popularity in Japan. It's you can see, it's a Japanese company. Um, Everyone over there seems to just love that brand and that company. The one thing I wanted tell you, Kirk, is that the Pikmin merchandise they have, because I think I remember you saying you went to the New York store and there wasn't
Yes,
anything Pikmin related
there
or
was
very
nothing, and
yes.
this was right after Pikmin 4 came out.
Well, it's all in Japan.
that's,
But
that's
I
fair.
was I was very impressed with the amount of Pikmin stuff. It's just there's just heaps, so much stuff. I had to be very conservative with what I could buy because otherwise I could spend a lot of money. But yeah, there's just there's backpacks, there's pens and pencils, there's statues, plush toys, anything you can think of, gardening kind of tools as well, like little gloves and packs and seeds and things like that. I bought the little plants that I think you might have seen on Twitter. I bought those
Yeah,
little vases, which are really cute, which I wanted to get anyway because I'd seen them online previously, but they're very hard to get here. There's just so much Pikmin stuff. Like Pikmin must be really, really popular in Japan, is what I'm thinking. Because it's just yeah, there's just so much stuff you can get. And the store is really it's nicely laid out. Like it's divided into there's a Legend of Zelda section, there's a Animal Crossing section, there's a Splatoon section, there's obviously heaps of Mario stuff. Whatever your whatever your favorite thing is, it's bound to be
Fire
there.
Emblem.
Fire Emblem. Oh, that's a good question. Did I see Fire Emblem stuff?
Might have been one shelf.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of Fire Emblem stuff actually. That's a good point. Maybe I missed it, or maybe it wasn't there. I don't
They
know.
didn't have much. Well, in New York, they had. I think there were two figures out. They had like a Byleth,
Mhm.
not like the Figma ones, but somewhere in between.
Mhm.
As far as
Mhm.
like price range goes, I can't remember. Maybe Marth and Byleth.
Yeah. I did see, not in a Nintendo shop, but Akihabara, which is in Tokyo. Excuse me, it's a sort of a city in Tokyo, or a region, and it's called Electric City. So it's very much for gamers. It's got heaps of retro stores, heaps of anime stores. It's really, really cool. It's kind of a few blocks of just awesome shops. But this one shop I went to did have, and I even took a photo for you, Kirk. I haven't shown you yet. It's they had this kind of section for Xenoblade Chronicles stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. And
Cool.
especially and they had a Zelda one right next to it. And it wasn't just like it was figures and things like that, but they had like soundtracks, like CDs of like the soundtracks of all the games, which I thought was really awesome. I thought it traveled like that, especially for the Zelda stuff. It's got all of the, Breath of the
Mhm.
Wild soundtrack. Yeah, it was really, really cool. The stuff you can get there, it's just amazing. You can't get it here. It's just impossible. It's just like even online, it's very hard to get. So yeah, I was blown away. And of course, Amiibo will be the last kind of thing I say. But at the Tokyo store, the Nintendo Tokyo store, they had a wall of Amiibo. And I was just like, I just didn't know what to do with
What'd
myself.
you get? You got what? At least a dozen based on the pictures I think I saw.
Yeah, I did get about 10 in the end. I had to kind of keep myself a little bit restrained. I could have bought so many more. They're not cheap
Just
exactly,
a
but they're
little bit
cheaper.
restrained.
Yeah, yeah,
Your
exactly.
kids got no souvenirs, but you came home with a dozen amiibo.
Yes, exactly, and I got some secondhand in Akihabara, which is the Electric City place, because they do have some there, so I found a few secondhand ones, which was cool. They were a bit cheaper, but even Nintendo, the store, they're not that expensive compared to Australia. They're similar price, but just the range they have, you can't get them here. Like King K. Rool from Donkey Kong Country, I've never seen him here, so that was a cool one to get. But yeah, I had to just pick and choose which which ones am I gonna get. Oh, no, I did get another one later on. I got, oh, it was a Fire Emblem one, was it? No. I did get a Fire Emblem one, though, actually. I don't remember who it was now. But one I had tried to get here when they re-released them. What was it, last year or the year before? And I could not get this one. It might have been Silica, whatever her name
Oh,
is.
from
Uh,
Shadows of Valenti.
Valentia.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
impossible to get. It just sold out everywhere here. So I just didn't get that one. So I found her and I'm like, yes, I need to get that
Yeah.
one. So
I think I
yeah.
ordered her from Japan.
Right. There you go. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
You're
So
gonna catch Roger yet, Gemma.
yeah. Yeah, I've got like 80 something now, so I'm doing pretty well.
Wow.
I did count them the other day and I've already forgotten, but it was in the 80s. And then I actually forgot I do have another one here on my desk, which I didn't even count. So there's another one there. So yes, the land of Nintendo, it's worth visiting. It's so cool. Mario stuff is just everywhere. Anyway, like you can get like Mario chocolates in the convenience stores. there's heaps of Mario and Pokemon stuff around. So it's definitely kind of in the. Would you say it's in the zeitgeist? I don't know if that's the appropriate term, but it's kind of there. It's everywhere,
Sounds
and they
good.
just yeah. So but definitely a productive trip to Japan. Yeah. Any other questions before we move on? Because I could talk all day about Japan, of course.
Well, I thought for sure when you were talking about the Pikmin stuff, you were going to mention all the steps you got in the Pikmin app.
Oh, well, I was gonna save that for games we're playing, but I could say that now because
Oh, I'm
Pikmin
sorry. I'm getting ahead of us.
okay, whatever. It's easy to do now. It does tie in. But yes, Pikmin Bloom, I guess the story with that is I had the game for years here in Australia, and most recently I haven't played it for a couple of years because my phone must be too old and it won't update the app. So recently I got a new phone, so I reinstalled the app, and when I was in Japan, I was playing it a lot. Um, the cool thing was there are so many people playing it over there. Like everyone's playing it because I see on the screen, you can see it's a bit like Pokemon Go. What is it? It's very much like Pokemon Go. But you can see because in Pikmin Bloom, you have to lay flowers down where you walk, like petals. And so you can see petals everywhere. And you join these little battles that are like mushroom battles, and I had trouble even finding one that wasn't full in Japan, but I found a few. I mean, even made some friends over there, like virtual Pikmin friends. So I'm getting, yeah, over 10,000 steps a day on this on this app. But when I got back to Australia, no one's playing it in my area. Like I'm like, oh, there's mushroom battles happening and no one's fighting them. And then all the flowers around me, which are like Pokestops, like you go and you get nectar from these big giant flowers that are around your area, but they're all not in bloom because no one's blooming them. No one's walking around to make them bloom. So I have to do all the blooming myself. And it's like, oh, this is way more fun in Japan. It's just,
It's a blooming outrage, it is.
yeah. So yeah, I can see why Miyamoto is so excited by Pikmin Bloom and why I guess the fans over there are excited by it. Just it seems to be, like I said, Pikmin's very popular over there. So it makes sense why he's created this game and why it's doing very well. Hopefully it's doing well. It seems like it's doing well. Yeah, but over here, not so much.
You'll have to retire there, Kirk.
Boy, that's a goal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great place, great country, nice people, great food, and obviously everything Nintendo as well. So there's a lot of good reasons to go there. Yeah, I just loved it. I loved it so much. So yeah, you guys got to get on Pikmin Bloom though. Maybe we can become friends. I don't know if you can help each other from overseas or not, but
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to head over to Australia soon to help bloom the plants.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, the
Yes.
term is lenticular. Lenticular.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. For
I
the
was
movement
close.
of images. Cool. There you go.
Yes.
We've learned something new today.
Okay.
wait, what
Excellent.
was it? What was it referring to again? I already forgot. It was the picture that changes as you
Yeah.
move. Like,
Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
okay, cool.
Lenticular. Okay.
I'll have
Very
to put
cool.
that in a review.
Yeah. I don't know how you can work that in, but I want to see that happen. So
These visuals are almost like lenticular. Like I can't
yeah.
quite figure out what I'm looking at.
I can see that happening. Yeah. Anyway. Well, we'll move on to some news because it's been a couple of weeks since I was away and we've missed a little bit of news. But the first one I wanted to talk about was the Wii U and 3DS online portions of gaming has now disappeared. It's gone offline. They've shut the servers down, right? And I think we've all heard about some clever or stubborn players have been staying online as long as possible. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about this. I think it's kind of funny. I tried to find an update yesterday. I could only find an update from like 2 days ago, but it seems like there's still a handful of people online. Maybe by the time this launches, which will be Monday, maybe there won't be, but there was still a couple. I think the list was oh, where did I see it? There was like Xenoblade Chronicles X had like 4 or 5 people. Mario Maker still had one. Splatoon had one. Pikmin XY, I guess, had one. Mario Kart 7 had two, and Mario Kart 8 had one. What do you
Yeah.
think about this craziness? Do you think
So like they can't shut off the lights till everyone leaves.
yeah,
Is that what we're dealing with here?
I guess so. Yeah. Do you think the servers are still on and they're running them in the background because people are still there?
Well, it's like what fans are finding like workarounds, right? Isn't that it? Like
I think
there's
so,
some
but I think
kind
they're just
of
It can't
Like,
shut down.
it's not like a
Can't.
homebrew thing, but it's like in a similar vein. Like it's a um,
Mm.
what's the word I'm looking for?
So they're not just sitting on the gains.
Lenticular.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Hey, not to get too off topic, Gemma, but
Mhm.
just out of curiosity, because Street Pass still works. Did you take your 3DS?
Oh,
Because that's its
no.
own thing, right? That just goes by.
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot to do that. I knew I did. You
Oh.
know, when you have that feeling, I knew I forgot something. That was the thing. That was the thing I forgot. Dang it. And we even talked about that, didn't we, Kirk? That I need to take it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Because when I flew to Hong Kong and stopped over in Tokyo, I had my 3DS and didn't realize until I'd gotten back on the plane for the rest of the flight that I had left it in airplane mode and didn't get a single person when I was walking around the airport in Tokyo.
Aw.
Yeah.
It's like, hold
No,
the
I
flight.
to yeah,
You know,
no, I
I'm
totally
happy
forgot
for
about that.
whatever fans end up doing to keep 3D or Wii U for that matter. I mean, I'm somebody who still revisits old hardware.
Mhm.
Heck, I probably play too much old hardware when I should be, doing Switch reviews, but it does feel like it feels like it was premature, but then again, you think of it like the 3DS launched in what 2011, Wii U was like a year later, so
Mm.
it's been plenty long, I guess. But at the same time, I mean, you look at like what Xbox has done, and you're like, how come Nintendo can't? Why are they Johnny Come Lately with these services? Why can't they be a trailblazer? They've done that for so
Mhm.
many other things. Why is anything related to online the one area where Nintendo, is playing catch up? So I don't know.
I have a theory about that, actually. Just with my recent experience in Japan. Um, Online, it's not great. Like, as in, I was trying to book stuff ahead of time to go to Japan, and their websites, this is gonna be very generalized, of course, they must have good websites, but the ones that I went to, like, I don't know, the Pokemon Cafe is an example. I was trying to book into the Pokemon Cafe in Tokyo. You have to book a month ahead. The website's just really not user friendly, and the servers can't seem to handle everyone going online to book at once. They do this weird thing where they for that particular cafe, you have to on the 10th of every month, it opens up the following month's bookings. So I was on the 10th of March, I was looking at April's bookings, and I got online and it was just booked out in minutes, but it was like booking like, it was like trying to get into a Taylor Swift concert or something. It was ridiculous, you know? Um, and I had the same experience with the Studio Ghibli Museum, and I had the same experience with, we wanted to see these capybaras, which are these giant guinea pigs or giant yeah, guinea pig type creatures in Japan that you can go to a cafe and see them. Those ones I had to go get up every day not get up, but I had to be online at 8 a.m. every day to try to book, and it just the online experience was poor. It just wasn't good. I wonder if that's just a thing. I was very surprised in the months, before my trip how poor the online experience is, and I didn't really connect the dots, but I wonder if it's just they're such a technically advanced country, you would think, Nintendo does really cool stuff with its consoles, et cetera, gadgets and things like that. They have this whole Akihabara Electric City. They're very into tech, but online, not so much. I don't know. What do you think?
Mm. You think it's just a cultural thing? Like they're more about
Maybe.
traditional, like face to
Yeah,
face
could
communication.
be. Yeah, and it's sort of related, but not really. But thinking of traditional versus, new or modern or virtual, like money I've never had so much cash in my life, like, as in, I've never used like, not since I was a kid. Like, today, I just use my card everywhere. I don't even have cash. I never have cash. But in Japan, I needed cash. I just needed to have cash. And they use, like, coins a lot. Like, you just get, 1 cent or 1 yen coins. It just it was very different. They still use I noticed the taxi driver, for example, when he picked us up, he had, a GPS. He had his phone with a GPS, etc. But he also had a little clipboard, and he had to tick something on his clipboard. And I'm like, what? Is this? They're very. It's. I like it. I think it's really cute and cool that they still like. Even I saw a delivery in one of the hotels. I was waiting to check out, and this delivery person came in, and they had another clipboard, and they used a pen, and they were like signing things like when people come to deliver stuff to me, they have a little electronic device and have to sign with a virtual pen, you know? So I think they have a very, yeah, cultural thing where it's like traditional versus modern. They like to they have a bit of both. It's probably balanced quite well, but it's different to here at least. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sense?
The more you say, the more I want to just, as Trevor said,
Yeah,
retire
yeah,
and go there.
yeah. I loved it. I loved it. I'm
Oh,
like, I
that
wanted to
sounds
ask.
wonderful.
I wanted to ask the taxi driver what he was doing, but I didn't. I'm just like, what is this? What's going
Did
on?
you go to Nagasaki? No, that's where Kirk wants to go.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't. No, I'll have to go back.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
gonna.
there's a story about that behind that we'll tell sometime, Trevor and I.
Okay. I look forward to hearing that one.
Stay tuned to future episodes.
Yeah.
Yes, when we don't have so much to talk about.
Yes, that's it.
When will
So,
that be?
Well, in the we're coming up on the twilight. It's starting to glow over the horizon, right? So there will be fewer games and just
Oh,
tons of speculation on the new system. So we'll work it in then. How's that sound?
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, well, for the moment, at least, it seems like, Nintendo's still pushing forward with lots of new games. They had an Indie World Showcase, on the 17th of April, so, last couple of weeks they had that. Um, so there was I mean, there were quite a few games I thought that looked really nice, and some of them we'd heard of before in previous showcases. I think the Little Kitty Big City was actually, brought to our attention then as well. But now it has a release date, it's 9th of May. I thought that one looked really cute. You get to control a cat in kind of a third person perspective in a city. Um, and we'll just talk about a couple in this because there's too many to go through and we don't have time. And it was on the 17th, so it's a couple weeks old now. But Europa was one that caught my attention, and there was a demo out for that one. So I did try that during the week. So Europa, is it the moon of Jupiter? One of Jupiter's moons, I believe, is Europa. I
Sounds
think
right.
the yeah, I think the premise is they've terraformed this moon so that it's habitable by humans. I've only had a very short time with it, but it's very beautiful looking, very Zelda-like, I suppose you could say. Um, you know, sort of shades of Wind Waker in terms of its color. It's very green, but also Breath of the Wild in terms of its realism, I suppose. It's not like as cartoony as Wind Waker, but yeah, it looks really nice. It seemed to play pretty well so far. I've only dipped in quickly, but that's one to watch out for. Doesn't have a release date just yet, just 2024. Cat Quest 3 was one that caught my eye simply because my son loves the previous Cat Quest games. And there's a demo for that as well, which I haven't had a chance to try yet, but I will. And that one's out on August the 8th, and it's sort of I guess it's an RPG where you're fighting enemies as a cat. You're a knight, kind of a cat knight. You fight dragons and things. It's pretty fun. The previous games were actually pretty fun, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that one kind of goes. Stitch. Stitch is the next one, and I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's out now, actually. I don't know if we're reviewing it at all, but it's a puzzle game, and I'd heard of this actually while I was in Japan. Just randomly read about it because I thought it is a relaxing game, but it's a relaxing puzzle game, and I thought it was literally you kind of build objects out of fabric, like stitch them together, but in a kind of very easy way. But it's more like you have to stitch them by closing off sections based on numbers, I think. So there's a bit of it's almost a Picrossy kind of feel to it. So that's one to watch out for, I think. It's gotten very good reviews from what I've heard. It's very well received. So that
Yeah,
could be,
that
yeah.
was the one that stuck out most on my mind.
Mm,
I wasn't enamored with a lot of the games in this one. Not to say that they're bad, just not my taste.
mm.
But that one caught my attention.
Yeah, it just looked really neat, didn't it? I think they interviewed the developers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a couple. It was a Japanese couple, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I think the wife was doing the design and he was doing the coding or something like that. And they seemed really enthusiastic about it. It seemed really nice. And I think they do daily challenges or something as well. There was some really cool content that they had added to it. So it stood out to me as well, definitely.
Yeah, the
Um,
description on the Nintendo site is pretty long for a, you know, a cheaper puzzle game. Like there's a lot of yeah, like you said, a lot of content looks like, and
mm,
like it's
mm.
gonna try to have an active like community or something.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, looks really cool. Um, hopefully we do get the chance to review it, but if not, I might even just check it out myself because it does look so good. And the last one, which they saved till the very end, and one I wanted to talk about, particularly with you, Trev, was SteamWorld Heist 2, which was a huge surprise for me, at least. I don't think this hadn't been announced before, right? This was kind of new information, right?
Yeah, it only
SteamWorld,
what,
yeah,
like, it was a week ago? Like,
yeah, yeah, or
I
just
didn't catch
yeah,
when to,
17th.
oh, yeah, so that's, like, what, 10 days ago at the time of recording,
Hmm.
and, yeah, I'm super stoked for that. You guys, um, may or may not know, but SteamWorld Heist is actually, if I was to make a list of, like, my favorite games from, like, the past, this generation, like, the past 10 years or so, that would have to be one of them. I bought the
Cool.
game on 3DS, I bought it on Wii U, I bought all the DLC. I bought a physical version on Switch 'cause I I wanted it again, and I just, yeah, it's my favorite, not knocking Dig or, Quest or any of the others, but I
Mm,
love Heist, and I'm super excited to see, how they're taking the core gameplay and moving it to the water. Because
mhm.
it was like it took me watching the trailer, like, I had to wrap my head around it. I'm like, "Okay, I'm looking out the windows and I'm seeing water and not, like, stars or" it is different, but it looks like it retains a lot of the stuff that I already liked and that fans already like, so, and I'm
Mm.
glad they're revisiting it because they've gone in different directions with the SteamWorld games, and Heist was due for a follow-up, so I'm super excited. It might be, yeah, I'm just going off, 2 minutes of footage, but it might be my dark horse game of the year.
Well, that's exciting. Yeah. It could very well be, honestly. And it's out on the 8th of August, so not too long to go.
It
And yeah,
seems
like
long, though, when you're excited to play it.
yeah. Yeah, because like you said, they do generally they seem to vary the genres in these games, in the SteamWorld series. Not often. I think they did do a SteamWorld Dig 2, is that right? There was one sequel they
Yeah,
did.
it was a great game
Yeah.
too.
Mm. Yeah, so to revisit SteamWorld Heist, which is that kind of turn-based kind of style, I had it on the 3DS and really enjoyed it. Have you had a chance to play it before, Kirk, the first one?
I've not played. I don't think any of the SteamWorld games.
Oh, okay. Well, there's something for you to play during the Twilight times, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
but
excited. Now that's my excuse to revisit Heist because it's like I haven't played it in a while, and it's hard sometimes to justify replaying a game when there's so many new games or so many review games or this and that. But now I can, like, legit say, okay, I have a reason now to replay this because it's prepping me for the sequel.
yeah, exactly, exactly. There's never been a better reason to do that. Yeah, well, that one, yeah, so we look forward to that in a couple of months' time on the 8th of August. So yeah, it was an interesting showcase. It kind of dropped out of nowhere. Like I was traveling at the time, so I was surprised, but I hadn't really been following a lot online at the time because I was just doing too much walking with Pikmin Bloom. But yeah, it was cool to see some interesting games highlighted by Nintendo. And of course, we've got others to look forward to, like Paper Mario in May and Luigi's Mansion 2 in June. I think it is. It is. So still heaps to look forward to as we welcome this Twilight era.
Yeah.
The
I
other,
should just throw out too, real quick, that the
yeah,
Steam
mhm,
World games, especially Heist, because it's an older game, it does go on sale, from time to time. So throw it on
true.
your wish list if you haven't played it, or if you played it on 3DS but want to play it on Switch in widescreen or whatever, it might be worth checking out. It's just a really good game. I think I reviewed one version. I can't remember which one, and I probably undersold it because the tell of a good review game is, do I go back and replay it after the review is done? And in
Mhm.
this case, I have a couple times over.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely the tell of a good game for sure. Yeah. Well, another piece of news that came out, I think, while I was overseas was it's been announced by Sega that this year is the year of Shadow the Hedgehog. And I just thought that was interesting because, we don't get many years of characters. I think we had the year of Luigi a while ago, which people seem to liken this to. Shadow the Hedgehog, obviously, we've heard recently the character is in the upcoming movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, as well as what's the game? Sonic X. We didn't decide how to say this, did we? But Sonic X Shadow? Is that what it's called? The game that's coming up? And then the other thing was that, Keanu Reeves is voicing Shadow in the movie. That was the other thing that we had,
That sounds
which I
about right.
think, yeah, which maybe Trev, as you're a Sonic fan, I don't know a lot about Shadow, to be honest. I know he's been around for 20 odd years, and I think there was a spin-off game that he's been in, as well as he's featured in Sonic games. I kind of quit Sonic around Sonic 3, so I didn't really get to that.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
Sonic I might have played Sonic and Knuckles, actually. Was that after Sonic 3? Anyway,
Yeah, that
I
was
never
like
played.
it was like the second half of Sonic 3. It was like a few months later. It had the add-on
Mhm.
technology where you could pop the cart on top of it. And anyway,
Yeah, okay.
that's kind of
Yeah.
getting off topic. But
Well,
yeah,
tell us about
Shadow. My
Shadow.
my enduring memory with Shadow, and you guys will appreciate it at least. But it was a game that was not generally well received by critics, but Nintendo Power gave it an 8 out of 10 and got flack for it.
Oh,
And people are
really?
like, "Oh, Nintendo Power is just pushing, their own." You know how people are, with you know
Yeah.
reviews. You like your game too much, they criticize you. You hate a game too much, they criticize you. You can't
Mhm.
please everyone, but it was kind of an odd, uh, contrast compared to the other mainstream critics.
Mhm.
And I think Nintendo Power sort of backpedaled on it, if I remember right. I have to look through my old issues. But
Well,
on a
which you
conceptual level, it seemed odd to have, Sonics are like kid games, and then you have this hedgehog, with, wielding guns, slightly coarser language. And I feel like Shadow kind of signaled maybe the point where Sega started really losing its way with Sonic, or at least being a lot more inconsistent with Sonic.
Mhm.
Because even the games before that, like the adventure games, were fairly popular. They had Sonic Adventure, Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes. Those were more often than not well received. But yeah, I don't know about Shadow or about this year. I mean, because a lot of the stuff they were talking about, um, like mobile games, that's not really my thing. Legos are cool enough, but if I haven't gotten the Nintendo ones, am I going to get the Shadow ones? I don't know.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, you're right. 8 out of 10, Nintendo Power. I mean, most people are giving it, like, 4 or 5.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really it stuck out, and it's one of those things that always stuck in my mind. And because every once in a blue moon, I've been in a similar situation. Not that
Mm.
I look up reviews prior, but after we post, we compare, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
man, I'm the only one who liked this game, or vice versa. Everyone
Yeah.
loved this game but me, and that's my Shadow of the Hedgehog moment.
Yeah. I mean, it got 7 out of 10 from the official Xbox magazine in the UK, and Game Trailers gave it 8.3, but Metacritic is sitting on 51 for the. Is it the GameCube? Was it that system? GameCube? Plus the Xbox and PS2. But yeah, 49, 50, kind of 45 for the PS2 version. So yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. I have not played that one. But yeah, it is kind of the fact that he's a darker version of Sonic, like he's wielding guns, like you said. He's what is he, like an anti-hero? He's kind of like
Yeah, I
good,
think
but
that's the word I've heard
yeah.
kind of tossed
Mhm.
around.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So, well, hopefully this year helps elevate his status a little bit, and maybe they'll remake that game and make it better. I don't, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm always cool for. I mean, I shouldn't say always, but I like to see older games get touched up for a new audience, assuming they're old enough, and that game is.
Mm.
So
Mhm. Yeah, 2000 and what, 5? Is it that one?
that sounds about right. Yeah,
So 20 years
yeah. I
old
think it
there.
was right around the time the DS came out, maybe like within a few months of that.
Oh, okay. Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I don't know, but yeah, it was just because I think it even made the cover actually, if I'm remembering right.
Wow.
I'm like, "Oh,
Okay.
who is this kinda, gray, black looking hedgehog here?" But,
Maybe I've
I want Sega to make a good Sonic game, like the games I grew up with. I mean, that's really, I'm an old man yelling at cloud meme. I like what I like, and I wanna relive my childhood, and I
yeah,
haven't been able to do that since Sonic Mania, which
right.
wasn't even Sega per se. It was it was like a fan
That's
project
true.
that they picked up, so
Did you play
yeah.
the new one, the new Sonic game?
I did a bit, and, it's interesting with a lot of the Sonic games, the first hour, it's like, this is pretty good," and then, like, a week goes by and it dawns on me, "Hey, I never went back to that game." Like,
Right.
I have fun, but I instantly forget about it.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's I don't know what it is.
They can't recapture the magic that they had in the '90s somehow. Hmm.
I suppose, I mean, I guess, Sonic as a youth, I was associated with, greatness. It
Mhm.
was like there was Mario for Nintendo, there was Sonic for Sega, and somewhere
Mhm.
along the line, Sonic fans started settling for, "Okay, it's pretty good," and pretty good became the new standard, and then, "Oh, it's average." Average became the new standard, like, we keep lowering the bar, and I just
Mm.
don't know if Shadow is the face to bring it back.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, I think. Because Shadow has I think fans are divided, some people like Shadow, some don't. And obviously the game has very mixed reviews, but more, negative on the negative side. So to highlight Shadow the way they did at the end of the last movie and to make this the year of Shadow, is that gonna rejuvenate the series or the whole concept of what Sonic stands for? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, are they gonna have guns in the movie? Are they gonna have Shadow wielding giant guns? I mean, that's not super kid friendly, is it? I don't know.
I am
Um,
kind of interested about this symphony, though, I was reading about, like, the orchestra. I think that would be
oh, yeah?
kinda kinda cool 'cause, well, like the Zelda symphony, right? Or they've had it with
Mm,
Mega Man too, so, um,
yeah,
yeah,
that would
I
be
don't know.
interesting. Mm, okay. Well, thank you for that insight into Shadow. I feel like
I
a
don't know how
year
much insight it was, but
I found it, interesting. But the year of something, I think, the year of Luigi wasn't as Luigi focused as it could have been. And I don't know if the year of something with a game and a movie doesn't feel like a year of something. Like, I think they need more, and I would like to see. And I'm not a Shadow fan because I've never played a game with Shadow in it. I'm not anti Shadow. I'm just not. I just don't know Shadow. But if you want to win me over, maybe you need more. Like maybe you do need to re-release Shadow the Hedgehog, the game. Maybe you do need to put out an amiibo or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you need to do something.
ooh, an amiibo would be cool, yeah.
Well, I would definitely get that.
I know you would. But
Just
when they
because.
say year of 2, they're raising the bar, they're setting expectations, and that's the thing.
Yes.
Sega's at its best when with Sonic, we have low expectations, right? And then they exceed our low expectations, but now they're raising the bar, announcing the year of and the year of when 30% of the year's gone by. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it is odd timing as well. That's true. So I think it's slightly strange, but that's fine. Maybe it's just around hyping up the movie probably and the game, really, right? That's what they're trying to just marketing, isn't it? So
yeah, I suppose so.
yeah. Hmm. Interesting. Well, let's move on to the last piece of news, I think, which is very quickly just that there was some new titles added to the Switch Online collection recently over the last couple of weeks. Super Nintendo games were added about 2 weeks ago, and I think more recently, like this last week, there were a couple of Nintendo 64 games added. Now, I know we haven't had a chance to try these exactly, but one caught our attention, which was Wrecking Crew 98. Did you want to talk about that, Trev, since you seem to know about it a little bit?
Well, I'll talk about it insofar as I'm always happy to learn about something that wasn't on my radar, and I didn't
Mm,
know that Japan had a Wrecking Crew sequel. I remember the original game, it was a black box NES game, and, um, it's been re-released like on Virtual Console and stuff, and it was kind of a cool game. It was an early appearance of Mario, but yeah, I never knew there was a sequel,
Yeah.
and
That's
that's kind of cool to, being a Nintendo fan to be in the industry, so to speak. Writing for a Nintendo magazine and still learning something new. And not that it's a new game, right? It was out in '98, like it said, but
mhm.
just never caught my radar because I wasn't in that region.
Yeah, same. I did not know it existed either. So that's really cool. Like you said, I think it's neat when we get stuff that was only ever released in Japan. Um, and both of you would love, actually, speaking of Japan, but I know you love your retro stuff, Trev, but i- the number of Super Nintendo systems and like Game Boy Colors and Game Boys and even Famicoms, as they're called in Japan, the old NES, right? You
Hmm.
can buy these refurbished. There's just walls of them and all of these games, and there's so many games in Japan that I've not heard of. I'm looking at these going, "Wow, I just wish I could buy these. I wish I could read Japanese properly. I just can't." I'm learning, but I'm very limited. And part of me is like, I wanna buy a Super Famicom and a game just because it's there and I can't get it in Australia, and it's rare and it's unique and it's special. But maybe one day, maybe one day when Kirk retires to there, he can do that. He can purchase purchase all the games. They had, like, all the old Final Fantasy games, just anything, and some of them I don't even recognize, just like Wrecking Crew 98. There's just heaps of stuff that was released over there that we never saw the light that never saw the light of day in, the US or Australia. So yeah, you definitely would love that aspect as well. So it's cool when stuff does come to us via Virtual Console or whatever it is, Switch Online. Um, but we'll give it a go. I'd like to give it a go, and we'll maybe report back on that one. Um, do we want to move on to games that we're playing first? Next? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Are we
Yeah?
skipping the Switch rumors, or are
Or
we moving them to the end?
well, normally it's at the end, but we could do it now. I don't mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see it in front of the games we're playing. That's why I asked on the paper.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I didn't add that, so
Oh,
let's
okay. Sorry. I'm getting thrown off here.
okay. It's all good. Well, let's talk about the games we're playing. And I've done Pikmin Bloom already, but the game that I'm currently reviewing is called Anomaly Agent. And I have just finished this one actually. I've just finished playing through, like completing the game, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think this one came via you, Trev, I think, and it's a little dev team. I think they have 3 people. I don't know if it's pronounced Few Few or Pew Pew. It's like Phew. So it looks like few, but is it like pew pew, like, guns, like pew pew? I don't
Maybe
know.
it's one of each. Few pew or pew pew.
It could be, could be. And this is like a platformer, shooter, brawler kind of thing, an action adventure sort of game. And it's about so the agent, the anomaly agent. He investigates anomalies, which could be like gravity or time or these kinds of things. But mostly this adventure is about time anomalies. They get stuck in this kind of loop. They have to keep reliving the same sort of section of time over and over because there's a time crystal that's been shattered for whatever reason. And there's these clone robot type people who attack you, and there's good guys and bad guys. It's really well made. The story is quite compelling. The characters are quite funny and interesting. The action is really good. The pacing is terrific. The music is fantastic, I have to say. This synth wave kind of soundtrack. I think you dig it, Trav. I always say you, Trav, because I know you always highlight the music in games that you play. I really
I
like it. It's in my
do.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear it right now in my head. Like I finished it 2 days ago, but I can still hear
Nice.
it. It's pretty memorable and catchy. Um,
I do
and I
want to
think
say I'm glad you're covering that because this is an older game, and some of the times our crew is small, and of course we're working on a mag too, so we don't have a lot of active reviewers necessarily at any given time. But this is actually the debut game from
mm,
the indie team. I think there's like 3 guys,
mhm, mhm.
and I'm glad that we're going to give it some coverage, even if it's late, because especially if it's shaping up to be a cool game, like you were saying.
Yeah, it is really cool. My only issue, I suppose, was that there was a little bit of slowdown at points. whether that was the switches. I think it's just because it's the Switch, but I did have to restart it. Oh, I didn't have to restart it, but there was one point later on in the game where there were quite a few enemies on the screen, and it just became unplayable where my jumps were too slow. I restarted the game and it was fine. So I don't know whether that's like a RAM issue, like a memory kind of related thing where it just because I'd been playing it for a couple of days and just pausing it or, going to the home screen and just not playing anything else in between. I was just playing that for a couple of days. So whether it just the Switch needed to close it and open it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I wanted to ask you guys if you've ever come across that before, in terms of games and whether restarting games refreshes, like with a computer, your browser's really slow sometimes. You just have to close the browser and open it again, right? Like it sort of clears the cache or the RAM or whatever.
I
I
don't
don't
know if
know.
I've ever played the same game for days without doing another one.
Yeah, well, maybe that was my problem, but
Maybe Zelda, but I don't know.
true, true. Yeah, and that never had that issue. So I think there's maybe a little technical glitches that they could probably iron out, but other than that, very enjoyable game, that I recommend. So Anomaly Agent is that one. Did you want to talk about some of your games, Kirk? What are you playing at the moment?
Yeah, well, the first game I want to talk about, I'm actually not playing because I finished it. The review went live this week at Pure Nintendo, but I wanted to bring it up. It's called El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron. This is
Cool.
a game that originally came out in 2011. I don't think it was ever released on a Nintendo device before, and it's been remastered, HD remaster for the Switch, and it really kind of caught me off guard. Like I don't know what I was expecting when they kept making all these references at the beginning to the Old Testament. It's based on the Book of Enoch, which is not in the Old Testament. It's not a biblical chapter; it's just a text,
A
a
little
religious
freaky
text.
deaky, right?
Yeah, a little freaky to get. That's. I kind of wish that I mentioned that in the review that I sort of wish it was in the Old Testament. So because that would have made for a very trippy um, week at Sunday school, I believe. Vacation Bible school would have been very different. Um, it's yeah, the whole thing is there's this group of fallen angels. They steal some artifacts from God and they come down to live with the humans because they want to have that life, and they kind of create this hybrid race that's going to destroy the world. So the Council of Heaven, again, not something that exists in the Bible, decides that they're going to destroy the earth, and rather than let this happen, God is not a character in the game. And I think this is where the Metatron comes from. Most of in fact, all the dialogue really amongst the main characters, it comes from an angel named Lucifer, who is this very cool, like black leather jacket, sort of Japanese character. Talks on a phone with God. We never hear God's conversations, but then they have this guy named Enoch who was a scribe. They brought him down, and he's going to retrieve these angels and bring them back to heaven. And if we get this done, then the earth will not be destroyed. So that's basically our mission. Um, it doesn't really take place on Earth. Most of the game takes place in this tower. The visuals are just some of the most unique I've ever seen in a video game. The design is utterly fantastic, and although it's mostly just like a linear action hack and slash games along the lines of, let's say, the early Beretta game. Did I say Beretta?
You
You mean
did.
Bayonetta?
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant Bayonetta, but sure, let's go back to the '70s cop shows because that. But yeah, that makes sense because that's what this Lucifer guy kind of looks like. He could have been a '70s cop. Uh, so most of it is that kind of action, but every now and again we go into these weird 2D environments where there's a lot of platforming, and they're just the visuals go completely off kilter from what we had before. It's just constantly changing itself up. Very interesting, a lot of fun to go through, and these generally aren't my kind of games. I'm not so much into platformers, and I'm not into like the hack and slash action games, but I had a lot of fun getting into this, and just getting to each world each time was enjoyable, just to see how crazy things were going to get. I had an easier time actually with the combat than with the platforming, but that's also because the combat's a little more forgiving in that there's a way to keep yourself alive when you die. It's copious with save points, so you can try again and figure things out. The platforming is just merciless. It's very hard to to get to land jumps, and you're falling into holes, and then you're going back, and there's not a lot of help going on. You just need to eventually get it done. So that can trip up some players, I think. But if it's a game that you were aware of in 2011 and never played, I do recommend giving it a shot. And I have to bring up the point. I see like a lot of people talking about how they don't want to play because they feel like it's a religious game, which to me is just absolutely bonkers. If it's a game's good, a game's good. But it's not really religious. So if for some reason that's the reason you don't want to play it, it's not like they're testifying and trying to get you to go to a Bible study. Nothing like that at
Right.
all. It's just an action game that's set in kind of like within a religious context.
Right. Cool. You gave it a
It
pretty good
does
score.
sound like the type of melodrama you're into, though, Kirk, even if not the genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, being an action game, they don't get quite as deep as I like to have. But yeah, it's very yeah, we'll go with that. It has its moments, and there are a lot of characters, the other angels you meet, that develops relationships with, and they become like I don't mean relationships, but they become more important to the game than they may seem at first, and it does have some impactful moments throughout the story. The story's good. The visuals and the gameplay carry it, but the story is fine.
Cool. Sounds pretty good. Thank you, Kirk. Are you playing something else at the moment?
Yes, I just got a review key yesterday for a game that came out yesterday, and by yesterday I mean Friday, I guess, since
Mhm.
this isn't coming out then.
Yeah.
For Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Sweep the Board. This is basically Mario Party set within the Demon Slayer anime
This is the one
universe.
we talked about a few weeks ago. Like
Yeah,
it was on some was it the indie showcase or something? No, when did we see this? We saw it on some presentation.
yeah, I can't remember which one it was because I've known about this. I remember seeing it and thinking like the the Demon Slayer anime. I'm not giving anything away here. This is the very beginning of the anime. If anyone has to watch it or the manga, um, there's a kid, good kid. Tanjiro is out working. He comes home one day. This is set like not in feudal Japan, like maybe 1800s Japan. His family has been absolutely slaughtered by demons, just death and blood everywhere. His sister is the only one left alive, and she becomes a demon. Let's make a family board game out of that,
Yeah,
was the
okay.
entire approach. And
Right.
and it works. I mean, the anime certainly has its lighthearted moments. It's violent, but it's also kind of fun. Um, and I just played around this afternoon with my wife and oldest son, and we had a good time. In fact, Tierney told me that at least initially she likes it more than Mario Party.
Wow. Okay.
What?
True,
Saying something,
true.
yeah.
But she also said it's because so far the mini games are easier.
Oh, okay.
Oh, fair enough.
And it,
Cool.
it
That's
very, I
exciting.
mean, it doesn't follow the formula exactly. The way they handle the mini games is a bit different. There are boss battles in this. Daytime and nighttime play a key role in it, and you're not just collecting stars. It's not like you get a star and then you get that and you move on. Um, so, but it still follows the formula of you're on a game board set up exactly like the ones in Mario Party, and you roll the dice, you move along. There are different bonuses you get as you go. You can have like double dice, you can control, slow them down. It's got a lot of the same game mechanics, but it changes up just enough where you don't feel like you're playing an exact copy.
Cool. Interesting. Yeah, I guess there aren't many Mario Party-like games out there. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
before this came along, I can't think of any that did that. But here we are, Demon
No, there
Slayer.
was I think there was an Animal Crossing one, maybe for the Wii U.
Oh,
There
Amiibo
was
Festival?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
one.
that was more
Um,
like a board game though than
yeah,
like it didn't
true.
have mini games per se. It was just more like a
Mm,
take a board game and put it into the digital realm.
true. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. I can't think of anything either. Anyway. Well, it sounds like a fun one. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Can't wait to hear your full thoughts. Trev, what are you playing? Llama Soft. What is that?
Yeah, so this is this poor game. This came out just as I was getting over COVID, and then just before I was getting ready to go away on a little anniversary trip. So it is late, but this is a continuation of I guess they're calling it the Gold Series. It's the Digital Eclipse, sort of that interactive timeline approach that we saw with the Atari 50th, and
Mm.
also with the Karateka one, which I reviewed both of those, and I really like the format. The Gold Master Series, that's what they're calling it. And yeah, it basically it keeps that same approach. It takes you from Minter's early days, up until the present, and you can either play the games as you go through the timeline, or you can access them separately, or you can just do the timeline in full. There's flexibility, and this intrigues me especially because he was really more so known, uh, in the UK, right, developing for a lot of computers that I only heard of in passing, but never, they weren't available in America. So it's interesting to see, his style, his approach, and uh, yeah, we're recording this. This is a Saturday, and I'm gonna finish the game tonight. Write up my review tomorrow, Sunday. Probably have it proofed Monday, and then it'll be up Tuesday, just in time for the end of the month.
Cool. That's awesome. It looks like he's created a lot of games in his career. Jeff Minter.
Yeah, he,
Um,
he
yeah.
did, and he's a he's an interesting fellow. He's definitely one of those marches to the beat of their own drums,
Mm,
and you can sort of see that in the sort of, like, there was a quote, and I think I took a screenshot of it. I'll have to look it up, but basically he wanted to see himself reflected in the games he made, and I think that it actually does come through, even with the early stuff. When visuals were very primitive and technology was kind of just starting to take off as far as gaming goes.
mm,
But
mhm,
it's another case, what I was talking to earlier, like with Wrecking Crew 98, learning about a game that I didn't have experience with because it was in another region. And a lot of his games were, like I said, on UK kind of niche computers that I never had. I knew him from, like, the Atari Jaguar, or the Nuon. He had a tendency to link himself to unpopular hardware for whatever reason, at least in America. But yeah, there's some cool stuff in there, and I look forward to getting my belated thoughts up on the site. But
very
uh,
cool.
yeah, I love the format. What can I say? They have a winning formula, I think, for whatever game developer they go to, next. I think as long as they stick with that formula and give it the attention to detail, it's going to work.
Yeah. No, those are cool. That's a really cool way to do it, I think. Give you the story as well as the games and kind of merge the 2 together somehow.
Yeah,
Mm,
my only issue, and I didn't even catch this until later when I was looking at the site. This is rated M, and the only reason I can find is that he'll drop the odd F bomb, which honestly is not at all necessary. But
mm,
um, if you're a parent and you want to show your kid some of these old games, just keep that in mind. There is
mhm.
some cursing and whatnot.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. Well, let's end the show with a little switch to rumors of the week recap because we haven't had a show for a couple of weeks, but there hasn't been much to recap recently. But we just read about something to do with the Joy Cons. Who found this information? Was that Kirk?
I found this. I stumbled again on an article on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just seems so strange to me that they're saying that the Joy-Con connections on the next version of the Switch are going to be magnetic,
Hmm.
as opposed to the sliding them in and they click and hold into place. I just wanted to see what everybody thought of that because I really just hope this isn't true. I don't think this is a good idea at all.
It's odd. I hadn't even considered that aspect. And I think, given every Switch game trailer starts with the Switch logo and it makes that click noise,
Yeah.
why do they want to get rid
Well,
of that? Yeah.
maybe they'll make some kind of a magnetic click. Is there like a
Yeah,
magnetic version of that when things kind of snap into place that way?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, and it do people lose their Joy-Cons? Is it to help people not lose them or something?
Well, I wonder if it's like when you're putting the Joy-Con on and they just have that tiny little button that's kind of awkwardly in the back that you have to push when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
pulling them out.
Mhm.
And inevitably I end up hitting another button on the console, which isn't a big deal. But I know it's kind of sometimes it's hard to get them in and out.
True, true, and I think there's been
Sometimes even harder, less so on the Switch than in one of those like the what do you call it when you get the plastic thing that allows you to connect the two docks or the two Joy-Con into
yeah.
one
Oh,
handheld
yeah.
unit.
Mhm. I don't know what it's
So
called.
that could be awkward. But the thing I like about those are the once you get it in and it's solid. And if I want to pick up my Switch by grabbing it from the Joy-Con, I don't need to worry about it falling off or
True.
somebody grabbing it and pulling harder on the other end that it, the Joy-Con's going to pop off. Like now, like say the MagSafe connector on the power cord on a MacBook. Um, so again, there weren't a whole lot of details. It was just they're going to use magnets. So how strong they are, if there's a way to lock it in place once the magnet has made the connection, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. But it was something new that in all the months of rumors that we've had, I had never heard this. So
No.
I thought I'd add it to the list here.
Me neither. It's news to me. And of course, yes, as we say, listeners, these rumors are just rumors. Take them with a grain of salt. And until Nintendo announces anything, we're just speculating and having fun talking about the different ideas that are thrown around. It does seem a bit flimsy, though, doesn't it, to have Joy Cons magnetized? Like you
The
said, if you
thing
just pick
is,
it up, it would
too,
fall off.
like you're right. Like I can't imagine in the heat of like an intense game of Mario Kart where you're running the corner or Smash Brothers or
Mm,
whatever. What's going to prevent them from popping off? You're going to need a
yeah.
strong magnet, and do you want a strong magnet? you know,
Yeah,
Near your
that's going to
expensive new
pinch your
hardware.
fingers.
Mm,
That too.
mm.
It's like, yeah, I agree with Kirk. I hope it doesn't come to fruition. I foresee there's going to be more Joy-Con issues if they do this approach. I really do.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a fun rumor, but yeah, hopefully not true. Hopefully not true. I just don't think it's going to be strong enough. Yeah, like you said. Imagine playing Mario Kart and your Joy-Con just keeps snapping off when you're in the middle of a drift.
That'll be
Or
my excuse when I lose. My Joy-Con disconnected.
yes.
it's, he's already got it worked in. Excellent.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that. I mean, I know some laptops and tablets have little magnets for styluses and things like that, but you can't have strong magnets near computers, right? Like that's not good for the computer, is it? That's got to mess around with the motherboard or something, right? Like,
It used to cause problems with the hard drives back when they
hard
were the
drives.
disks. I don't know that they do anymore with
Oh, the
like
solid state
your zip
drives.
drives or digital.
Mhm. Yeah, true. True. I don't know.
But you're right
I
though, Gemma. Like I even have an issue sometimes. Like I have a carrying case that has a magnetic flap, and even then, I'm not in love with it because I'm like, ugh, I don't like the magnet that close to the screen. Like crazy things can happen, and especially with new hardware. The first version of our hardware always has little quirks that they get revised out in later editions. Like Joy-Con drift or like the kickstand or
Mhm.
dock warping, whatever the early issues were with the original Switch model. What's going to stop that from happening with Switch 2 or Switch Pro? Are there going to be
Mm.
issues connected to magnetic Joy-Cons disconnecting or scraping or whatever the case might be?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows, right? And I wonder if we'll still hear, the rumors were that May would be the announcement. So we may not have long to wait to find out whether for sure whether all these things are true or not. So I hope we do hear soon, but we'll wait and see. Until then, it's very fun to talk. Was there anything else you guys wanted to add before we close off the show for the week?
I hope
Oh,
everyone's enjoying the new issue that Gemma put together and that Kirk mailed out.
Oh yeah, thanks, Kirk. That
Oh,
must have
dang.
happened while I was away, I think, yes. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
hope so
did go
too.
out. Yeah, everyone should have their copy now. If not, storm your post office and find out. They probably got it. They took it home themselves or set it out to read on their own during their breaks.
Probably. Yeah, exactly, exactly. We'll get to work on the next issue, so look forward to hearing more about that soon. Until then, you can follow us on Twitter/X. We're on Mastodon and Blue Sky as well. If you do want to get yourself a copy of the magazine, if you're not already a subscriber, head on over to patreon.com/pure Nintendo and you can be in line for our next issue when that's ready. But until next week, thank you guys, thank you listeners, and game on everybody. Bye.